Just an absolutely massive win for the Indiana Fever. Really a great day for the Fever overall. There's no other way to put it. And going back in retrospect, when we look at those Minnesota Lynx games, I didn't feel bad about the way the Fever played in those games. They hung tight with a Lynx team that is just genuinely a great team by some of the metrics, historically great when you look at their net rating and the way they've been able to produce so far this year. Obviously, Feet Collier was only available for the second of those two games. Nonetheless, the Fever hung tough in those games, which probably should have been commended a little bit more given the competition. Then they smack the Seattle Storm. Now, the Storm, not everything's great over there. I think the head coach, Noah Quinn, may be in some trouble. I mean, they have the bright future of Malanga, of course, but there's talent on that roster. And with a playoff spot on the line, they shouldn't be playing as poorly as they did in this one, where they just get dominated by the Fever. I mean, when you're suiting up Neko Gumake and Skylar Diggins and Gabby Williams, and you trade for Brittany Sykes, you expect better results than Seattle got. But on the flip side of that is the way that the Fever played. Unselfish, and the stars showed out. Because even with everybody that's been in and out of the lineup, those core players are still there. Meaning Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. And Lexi Hull is tough as nails. She took a shot, a headbutt, had to leave. The hope was it wasn't a concussion. Obviously, it wasn't. She comes back in, steps into a three confidently, knocks it down. Everybody's pumped, including Stephanie White. Look at that Caitlyn Clark shirt she's got on. There's Caitlyn pumped. Remember when I see Chloe Bibby in the background there too. Remember when some random fans were upset about the Kelsey Mitchell MVP shirts? Now everybody's wearing the Caitlyn shirts. You know what? It was amusing to me, the complaining online about the team not posting Caitlyn or enough or whatever, which is just the mind boggling to me. Who's actually keeping track of that? And then you get this, the whole Caitlyn Clark basically night. Caitlyn was here and all the new logo shirts on display. Unfortunately, Caitlyn couldn't play in this game, but we'll get to that in just a second, because seeing those shirts on display and everything was definitely a cool moment and a cool vibe for the game and for the team. But I mentioned Lexi Hull, her toughness on display. Then you get Kelsey Mitchell, who's just been brilliant all season long. She became the franchise's single season scoring leader in this one. This wasn't her most impressive play of the game. I thought actually Kelsey made some really nice passes and playmaking displays in this game, but you got to show the historic bucket, which happened early. And Kelsey with those hesitation dribbles that she's put on, I mean, that's just an open three that she can. But nonetheless, congratulations to Kelsey Mitchell, who's been brilliant all season long. Then Aaliyah Boston was a beast in this one too. She really asserted herself, didn't have to deal with that front line that she had to deal with in Minnesota, and just that overall length and talent that Minnesota has that can be overwhelming. Seattle a little bit more disjointed, and good feed by Howard, by the way, there too, who also played well. A lot of players played well in this game, but the other core players who are still going to be there and still are there, and I think that's important, were really, really good in this one. Really, really good. Lexi Hull doesn't need to score a ton to make her presence felt, of course. Kelsey Mitchell is a scorer, but she distributed in this one too, not to the tune of a bunch of assists, but I thought she moved the ball well and did her normal bucket getting. Aaliyah Boston, just an overall really good performance, strong on the boards, strong in every facet of the game. Odyssey Sims chipped in with some scoring that was definitely needed, and I thought Ariel Powers did well in her minutes as well. Even Bree Turner, who's not exactly reliable as a finisher or scorer, but gives good hustle minutes and good defense. But why is it so big? Well, I mean, this playoff discussion, the Fever moved back into sixth. They beat a team that's in the mix with them. And a win like that against an opponent like that, it's getting, the odds are just going into their favor. I mean, they got the Sparks up next. We'll see what happens with the Sparks and the Mercury, but basically win that and it's over with. And the same with the Valkyries game after that. Like the destiny's right in front of them, but the Fever don't really have to win too many more games before the season is over. And a win like this also, takes that desperation back a little bit and buys Caitlyn Clark a little bit more time. Because before the game, Stephanie White did talk about Caitlyn Clark And I thought the comments were fairly telling. Here's what she had to say.
Caitlyn able to go through your little walkthrough or whatever you normally do, and what do you want to see ultimately to get comfort whenever the time comes?
Yeah, she went through our walkthrough yesterday. Today it was very short, prior to game time, but she went through it yesterday, and I want to see her in practice, live in practice. Want to see her continue to work to not just build endurance, but to be able to handle contact 94 feet as it's going to be in game, and to be able to do that and sustain from an endurance standpoint. And that's going to take multiple practices to make sure that there's no regression. And as most of us know, when we get fatigued, we look different, and see how she plays through fatigue.
Sorry to follow up. Do you have enough practices left for that opportunity, especially this late in the season? They get changed depending on your schedule, things like that.
Not necessarily probably team practices, but being able to put together, threes, fours, and different things that we can go against and match up with.
Great follow-up question by Tony East there, because that's been a question that people have wondered, is there even enough practice time? And a nice distinction drawn by Stephanie White there, which is important, which means she needs to see Caitlyn Clark in practice, but it doesn't have to necessarily be official team practice, meaning they will be able to replicate what a practice looks like. They're not going to sit there with Caitlyn Clark healthy and ramping up and just leave her there when they're in the playoffs if she's ready to go. They're going to figure that out on the fly, is how you take those comments. You also take them to mean that Caitlyn Clark is back participating with the team, which we got a hint of on Sunday. They've been behind closed doors since then. You start to look at the schedule. I mean, I think the at any point, it's getting more and more realistic. The more the Fever win without her, the more time is bought. Like, the ideal date may be that Chicago game on September 5th, and since it's at home and there's space between. But you can't totally rule out the road trip either, which still has the 29th, the 31st, and the 2nd. Regardless, Caitlyn Clark is clearly ramping up, not being shut down. Now, there can always be a setback, but it seems like things are trending certainly in a positive direction. So for all the doom and gloom, and of course, I'm not sitting here telling you the Fever are winning the championship or anything, but it feels like their fight is being rewarded. That team is playing hard. They're playing well. People are coming in and playing well on the fly, and Caitlyn Clark has healed up. I mean, hearing that, she's healthy. It's just getting her back to where she needs to be from a basketball standpoint. But all in all, even Chloe Bibby, Stephanie White said, would be hopefully back at practice by the end of the week. All things considered, it's got to be the best day in Feverland in a long time.